Captain Daewon Kim stood on the bridge of the UNS Resilience and looked at the stars through the main window. He still could not believe it. Humans had finally done it. They had built a ship that could travel faster than light. It took them 300 years of space exploration, but they had made it work. The ship moved smoothly through space. Daewon smiled. He remembered the old days when he flew fighter jets in the Korean Air Force. Back then, breaking the sound barrier felt impossible. Now here he was, breaking the light barrier. His science officer, Dr. Hana Shin, walked up to him. She carried a tablet in her hands and looked worried. Hana was the genius who invented their quantum tunneling drive. She made the ship work by punching holes through dimensions. Other scientists said it was too dangerous. Hana did it anyway. "Captain, we have incoming," Hana said. Long-range sensors picked up something big. "Really big?" Daewon turned to her. "Alien ship?" "Yes, sir. And they are trying to talk to us." The bridge crew went silent. This was it. First contact, the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. Commander Bora Lee, the head of security, moved her hand closer to her weapon. She trusted aliens as much as she trusted a broken parachute. "Put them on screen," Daewon said. The main screen flickered. An alien appeared. It looked like a giant insect with multiple eyes and strange clicking mouthparts. The creature wore something that looked like formal clothing. When it spoke, the translation software kicked in. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Velraxis of the Chromath species. I represent the Galactic Federation. We have been watching your world for many years. Now that you have achieved faster-than-light travel, we must speak." Daewon stepped forward. "Nice to meet you, Ambassador. I am Captain Kim. Welcome to the Resilience. What can we do for you?" Velraxis made a clicking sound. The translation showed it as a sigh. "We need to discuss your membership in the Federation. There are rules. Many rules. You must follow them if you wish to join Galactic Society." An hour later, Daewon sat in the conference room with his senior staff. Velraxis stood at the head of the table. The ambassador had beamed over to their ship with several assistants. They brought documents. So many documents. "This is the membership application process," Velraxis explained. "You must complete 847 different requirements. Each one must be reviewed and approved by the Federation Council." Engineer Tae-Yang Park, the ship's chief engineer, raised his hand. Tae-Yang could fix anything with duct tape and creative thinking. He once rebuilt an entire engine with spare parts from a coffee maker. "How long does this take?" Tae-Yang asked. "Approximately 200 Earth years," Velraxis said calmly. The room went silent. Then everyone started talking at once. 200 years? Most of them would be dead before Earth got approved. Their great-grandchildren would be dead. Daewon held up his hand for silence. "Ambassador, that seems like a long time. Is there a faster way?" "No," Velraxis said. "The process exists for good reasons. The galaxy is old. We have seen many species destroy themselves by moving too fast. Caution keeps everyone safe. We must verify that humans are stable and predictable before granting full membership." Hana leaned over to Daewon. "Stable and predictable? They clearly have not met us yet." Before Daewon could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Sungjin Bae, the communications officer, pressed her hand to her earpiece. Her face went pale. "Captain, emergency transmission from Federation space. A Chromath colony ship is in trouble near the Helix Nebula. Life support is failing. 3,000 people on board. Most of them are children." Velraxis stood up quickly. The ambassador's many eyes went wide. When did this happen?" 10 minutes ago, Sungjin said. "They are asking for immediate help." Velraxis pulled out a communication device and spoke rapidly in the Chromath language. After a moment, the ambassador turned back to the humans. "The Federation Council is meeting now. They will organize a rescue mission. It will take approximately 6 months to plan and execute properly." Daewon stared at the ambassador. 6 months? Those people will be dead in days. "The proper procedures must be followed," Velraxis said. "We must calculate risks, plan routes, assign appropriate vessels, and obtain approval from 17 different committees. Safety protocols exist for reasons." Bora stood up. "While you fill out paperwork, 3,000 people die? That is insane." "It is careful," Velraxis corrected. "The galaxy has learned that rushing into danger causes more problems than it solves." Daewon looked at his crew. He saw the same expression on every face. They were thinking the same thing he was thinking. Humans did not get where they were by waiting for permission. They got there by doing what needed to be done. He turned to Hannah. How far is the Helix Nebula? She checked her tablet. 4 days at maximum speed. But Captain, the nebula is dangerous. It is full of forming stars, radiation storms, and gravitational anomalies. No ship has ever flown through it. All traffic goes around it, which takes 3 weeks. Has anyone ever tried flying through it? Day-One asked. No, Hannah said. Day-One smiled. Then we will be the first. He turned to Velraxus. Ambassador, we are going to save your people. Velraxus's mouth parts clicked rapidly. The translation showed confusion and alarm. You cannot. You lack authorization. You have not filed the proper rescue request forms. You do not have Federation navigation clearance. This violates 23 different protocols. We have got this, Day-One said simply. He turned to his crew. Tae-Yang, get the engines ready for maximum speed. Hana, plot us the fastest route through that nebula. Bora, prepare the crew for rough conditions. Sungjin, send a message to those colonists. Tell them help is coming. The crew jumped into action. They moved fast, each person knowing exactly what to do. This was what humans were good at. Quick decisions. Fast action. No waiting for permission. Velraxus stood in shock. You cannot do this. I forbid it. The Federation forbids it. You will cause an interstellar incident. Your membership application will be denied. You might start a war. Day-One walked to the bridge, Velraxus following behind and still protesting. The captain sat in his chair and looked at the view screen. The stars waited ahead. Somewhere out there, 3,000 people were dying. Not for long. Ambassador, Day-One said calmly, you can either help us or stay out of our way. But we are going. Those are your people dying out there. We just met you an hour ago and we are already willing to risk our lives to save them. Maybe that makes us reckless. Maybe that makes us stupid. But that is what humans do. He turned to his pilot, Ji-Woo An. The young pilot had reflexes faster than any computer and a crazy grin that never left her face. Ji-Woo, take us into that nebula. Maximum speed, yes, sir. Ji-Woo's fingers flew over the controls. This is going to be fun. The Resilience turned and accelerated. Behind them, Federation space filled with emergency transmissions. The Council was having a collective panic attack. Ahead of them, the Helix Nebula glowed with dangerous beauty. Velraxus collapsed into a chair, all 8 legs shaking. The ambassador had lived for 8,000 years. In all that time, Velraxus had never seen anything like this. A species so new to the galaxy, rushing headfirst into certain death to save strangers. Humans were either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most insane, probably both. And Velraxus had a front row seat to watch them prove it. As the ship entered the outer edges of the nebula, space itself seemed to catch fire. The Resilience shook. Alarms started beeping, and Captain Daewon Kim sat calmly in his chair, completely confident in his crew. We have got this, he said again. The real question was whether the galaxy was ready for what that meant. The Helix Nebula looked beautiful from a distance. Swirling clouds of gas glowed in shades of purple, blue, and red. Young stars burned bright, lighting up the cosmic dust around them. It was the kind of view that made people write poetry. Up close, it was hell. The Resilience shook as it entered the outer edge of the nebula. Radiation alarms screamed. The shields flared bright as they blocked deadly particles. Through the view screen, Captain Daewon watched space become a storm of fire and light. Dr. Hana Shin stood at her station, fingers flying over the controls. Her face was covered in sweat. She had to constantly adjust their course as gravitational fields shifted around them. No computer could calculate this fast enough. She had to do it by feel. Captain, the quantum tunneling drive is not designed for this, Hana said. We are pushing it past safe limits. If we keep this up, it might explode. Will it get us through? Daewon asked. Hana paused. Maybe. Probably. I think so. Good enough, Daewon said. Behind them, Ambassador Velraxus gripped the arms of a chair with all 8 legs. The Chromath had been alive for 8,000 years. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched stars die, but they had never experienced terror like this. You are all insane, Velraxus whispered. Completely insane. Pilot Ji-Woo An laughed. She had both hands on the controls, her neural implants directly connected to the ship's navigation system. Her eyes glowed faintly blue as data streamed through her brain faster than any normal human could process. This is easier than driving in Seoul during rush hour, Ji-Woo said. At least space does not have traffic lights. The ship suddenly dropped as they hit a gravity well. Everyone not strapped in flew upward. Velraxis made a sound like a broken whistle. Jiwoo pulled them out of the dive at the last second, threading between two forming planets. Sorry about that, Jiwoo said cheerfully. These gravity pockets are tricky. Down in the engine room, Taeyang Park was having the time of his life. Alarms beeped all around him. Warning lights flashed red. The quantum drive was overheating. The power couplings were stressed beyond their design limits. And half the safety systems were offline. It was perfect. Taeyang crawled through a maintenance tube, carrying a roll of high-grade repair tape and a welding torch. He reached a cracked power conduit and got to work. The conduit was supposed to be replaced in a shipyard over 3 weeks. He had 5 minutes. His assistant, a young technician named Jaehwa Nam, handed him tools through the tube. Jaehwa was nervous but focused. This was her first deep space mission, and it was definitely not what she expected. Is it supposed to make that sound? Jaehwa asked as the engine made a grinding noise. No, Taeyang said, but it is making it anyway, so we work with what we have. Hand me the plasma welder. The ship shook again. Taeyang banged his head on the tube ceiling. He cursed in Korean and kept working. This was what he loved about space. Everything was always broken, and you had to fix it with whatever you had on hand. Bridge, this is engineering, Taeyang said into his radio. I need you to shut down artificial gravity. There was a pause. Then Daewon's voice came back. For how long? Maybe 3 hours? Maybe more. I need the power for the shields and engines. The radiation is getting worse. Another pause. To it, Daewon said. The gravity shut off. Everything not secured started floating. Velraxis let out another terrified whistle as the ambassador drifted away from the chair. Several crew members grabbed onto their stations. Dr. Minho Choi, the medical officer, pushed off from the wall and floated to the medical bay. He started securing all the equipment and supplies. If anyone got hurt in zero gravity, treating them would be a nightmare. Minho was a xenobiologist as well as a doctor. He had spent the past hour scanning Velraxis with medical equipment. Chromath biology was fascinating. They had 2 hearts, a decentralized nervous system, and blood that was blue. He made notes while floating around the medical bay. On the bridge, Commander Bo-Ra Lee pulled herself along a safety railing to her station. She had trained for zero-gravity combat in the Special Forces. This was nothing new to her. She checked the weapons systems and shield status. They might not be fighting anyone, but Bo-Ra believed in being prepared. The nebula was full of unknown dangers. Maybe pirates hiding in the gas clouds. Maybe automated defense systems. Maybe things worse than either. Captain, I am picking up something on sensors, Lieutenant Sung-Jin Bae said from communications. It is hard to tell through all this interference, but there is definitely something metallic ahead. Could be the colony ship. How far? Daewon asked. 2 hours at current speed. But Captain, there is something else. The readings are strange. There is a massive gravitational anomaly near the ship. Hana checked her instruments. Her face went pale. Oh no. That is not just an anomaly. That is a neutron star. And it is pulling the colony ship toward it. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what a neutron star was. The collapsed core of a dead star, so dense that a teaspoon of its matter would weigh billions of tons. Its gravity was strong enough to tear apart anything that got too close. Can they escape? Daewon asked. Hana shook her head. Their engines are failing. They do not have enough power to break free from the gravity well. In maybe 6 hours they will cross the point of no return. After that, nothing can save them. Velraxis floated closer, managing to grab onto a console. The ambassador's voice was quiet. This changes everything. Even if you reach them, you cannot pull them free. The gravity is too strong. The Federation calculated this scenario. Rescue is impossible. Daewon looked at the view screen. Through the swirling clouds of the nebula, he could just barely see a dark spot where the neutron star bent light around itself. Somewhere near that monster, 3,000 people waited to die. He turned to his crew. Impossible is just a word. It does not mean anything until we try. Hana, is there any way to do this? Hana was quiet for a long moment. Her mind worked through calculations, theories, and possibilities. Finally, she looked up. Maybe. It is crazy. It violates every law of physics I know. But maybe. Tell me, Daewon said. The quantum tunneling drive works by shifting us slightly out of normal space, Hana explained. We phase into a higher dimension where distance works differently. That is how we travel faster than light, I know that. What does it have to do with the neutron star? Hana took a deep breath. If we phase shift near the neutron star, gravity will work differently for us. We could match velocity with the colony ship, attach towing cables, then phase back to normal space. The neutron star's gravity would help us. We could use it like a slingshot to escape. Bora leaned forward. What is the survival chance? Hana hesitated. 12%, maybe less. The phase shift near that much gravity could tear us apart. We might phase into solid matter. The drive could overload and explode. We could get stuck between dimensions. I can think of at least 20 ways this kills us all. Velraxis made a choking sound. You cannot be serious. This is suicide. Even by human standards, this is insane. Daewon looked around the bridge. He saw his crew watching him. They were scared. Of course they were scared. Only an idiot would not be scared. But he also saw something else in their eyes. Determination, trust, and a crazy kind of hope. He thought about the 3,000 people on that colony ship, most of them children. Innocent people who had done nothing wrong except be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The Federation would let them die because the math said rescue was impossible. But math did not account for humans being too stubborn to accept reality. We are doing it, Daewon said. Hana, start preparing the phase shift calculations. Tae-yang, I need the drive running at maximum capacity. Bora, prep a team for spacewalk. We will need someone to attach the towing cables manually. Sung-jin, contact that colony ship. Tell them we are coming. The crew sprang into action. Velraxis just floated there, watching in amazement. In 8,000 years, the ambassador had never seen anything like this. A species barely out of its own star system, charging into certain death to save strangers. Why? Velraxis asked quietly. Why are you doing this? You met us hours ago. You owe us nothing. Why risk everything? Daewon turned to the ambassador. Because they need help. Is there supposed to be another reason? Velraxis had no answer to that. The resilience pushed deeper into the nebula. The radiation got worse. The gravitational fields got stronger. But the crew kept working. They had a job to do. Impossible or not, they would do it. Because that was what humans did. They looked at impossible situations and said two simple words. We have got this. The Chromath colony ship appeared on their sensors like a dying star. It was enormous, designed to carry thousands of people across the galaxy to new worlds. But now it was broken. Its engines were dark. Its shields flickered weakly. And it was falling toward the neutron star like a stone into water. Through the view screen, Captain Daewon could see the neutron star itself. It was not bright like a normal star. It was dark, pulling light into itself. Space around it bent and twisted. Looking at it made his eyes hurt. We are in position, Pilot Jiwoo said. But Captain, I have never felt gravity like this. It is pulling at us even from here. Dr. Hana Shin floated to the center of the bridge, still in zero gravity. She had spent the last hour running calculations. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep and her hands shook slightly. But her voice was steady. I have the numbers, she said. The phase shift will last exactly 43 seconds. That is all the time we have to attach the cables and phase back. If we stay shifted any longer, the drive will burn out and we will be stuck between dimensions forever. 43 seconds, Engineer Tae-yang repeated. He had just floated onto the bridge from the engine room. He was covered in grease and burns. To attach quantum-reinforced cables to a ship while reality is breaking around us. Should be easy. Who is doing the spacewalk? Commander Bora asked. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The impossible rescue, the humans who charged into hell and came back with 3,000 saved lives. Every species heard the story. Every civilization watched the sensor recordings. And nobody could quite believe it. The Resilience limped through space, towing the colony ship behind it. The human vessel was barely functional. Main power flickered on and off. The quantum drive was nothing but melted metal and broken dreams. Half the crew worked in damaged spacesuits because life support could not reach all sections of the ship. But they were alive, and 3,000 Chromath were alive because of them. In the medical bay, Dr. Min-ho Choi treated the wounded. 6 crew members had died during the rescue. 3 from radiation exposure during the phase shift. 2 from explosive decompression when a hull section failed. 1 from complications when reality reasserted itself. Min-ho closed his eyes as he recorded each death. They had known the risks. They had volunteered anyway. That did not make it easier. Captain Daewon Kim stood on the bridge and looked at the stars. His ship was wrecked. His crew was exhausted. 6 good people were dead, but he would do it all again in a heartbeat. "Captain," Lieutenant Sung Jin said, "the Federation is calling. All of them. Every species. They all want to talk to you." "Put them through," Daewon said. The view screen filled with alien faces. Hundreds of different species all talking at once. Some were angry. Some were amazed. Some looked scared. But all of them had watched what humanity did. Ambassador Velraxis stood beside Daewon. The Chromath had been quiet since the rescue. For 8,000 years, Velraxis had believed in careful planning and slow decisions. Now everything the ambassador knew felt wrong. "The Federation Council demands an explanation," one of the alien representatives said. "You violated protocols. You endangered Federation citizens. You used experimental technology in a reckless manner. This cannot be allowed." Daewon listened calmly. Then he spoke. "Those protocols would have let 3,000 people die. Your careful planning would have taken 6 months while they suffocated in space. We did what needed to be done. If that is wrong, then I guess we are wrong. But 3,000 Chromath are alive because we did it," he added. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some species agreed with the angry representative. Others defended the humans. The debate raged for hours. Meanwhile, in the Resilience engine room, engineer Tae-Yang Park made an interesting discovery. The quantum drive had not just broken during the phase shift. It had changed, evolved. The damage created new pathways in the system, new ways for energy to flow. "This should not be possible," Tae-Yang said to technician Jaehua. "According to every law of physics, this drive is dead. But look at these readings. It is running better than before." Dr. Hana Shin joined them in the engine room. She studied the modified drive with wonder. "We pushed it past every limit. We broke the rules of reality itself. And somehow it adapted." The drive learned. She ran calculations on her tablet. "If I am reading this correctly, we just accidentally advanced our technology by about 200 years. This drive can do things the original design never dreamed of. Humans broke physics and got rewarded for it," Tae-Yang said with a grin. "That sounds about right." Velraxis walked through the damaged ship, observing everything. The ambassador watched the crew work together to repair systems. Nobody complained. Nobody gave up. They just fixed what was broken and moved on to the next problem. The Chromath found Commander Bora in a corridor, welding a crack in the hull. "Bora, why do humans do this?" Velraxis asked. "Why risk everything for strangers?" Bora paused in her work. "Because someone has to. If we wait for perfect conditions before helping people, nobody ever gets helped." "But you could have died." "You almost did die," Bora shrugged. "Yeah, but we did not. And 3,000 people are alive. That is what matters." She went back to welding. Velraxis watched her work and felt something strange. After 8,000 years of cautious living, the ambassador felt inspired. That evening, Daewon held a memorial service on the damaged bridge. The 6 crew members who died were honored. Their names were recorded. Their sacrifice was remembered. "We knew the odds," Daewon said to the assembled crew. "We knew we might not make it. But we did it anyway, because that is what humans do. We do not wait for perfect solutions. We do not hide behind protocols. When someone needs help, we help them. That is who we are." The crew stood in silence. Some cried. Some stared at the stars. All of them understood. They had lost friends, but they had saved thousands. The math was simple, even if the emotions were not. A message arrived from the Chromath colony ship. The captain wanted to send something over, a gift. Daewon agreed. An hour later, a small shuttle docked with the Resilience. Chromath crew members carried a crystal sphere about the size of a basketball. It glowed with soft blue light. "This is a memory crystal," the Chromath captain explained. "My species has used them for millions of years. They store our collective history. Everything we have seen and done is recorded inside. This crystal now contains what you did for us. As long as the Chromath exist, your deed will be remembered." Daewon accepted the crystal with both hands. It felt warm to the touch. Inside, he could see swirls of light that looked like memories taking shape. 3 days later, the Federation Council reached a decision. The debate had been fierce. Traditional members wanted to punish humanity for breaking rules. Progressive members wanted to reward them for saving lives. The galaxy watched and waited. Ambassador Velraxis requested permission to speak before the vote. The council granted it, curious what the ancient Chromath would say. I have lived for 8,000 years, Velraxis began. In that time, I have seen the Federation grow from a handful of species to hundreds. We have built a galaxy of peace and stability. We have survived by being careful, by moving slowly, by following protocols. The ambassador paused. But I have learned something from these humans. Caution can become cowardice. Protocols can become prisons. In our quest for safety, we have forgotten how to act when action is needed. The council chamber went silent. 3,000 of my people are alive because humans said we have got this and meant it, Velraxis continued. They violated 23 protocols. They risked everything. 6 of them died, and they would do it again without hesitation. The Chromath looked around the chamber at hundreds of different species. I propose we do not just admit humanity to the Federation. I propose we learn from them. I propose we restructure our emergency response systems to allow immediate action when lives are at stake. I propose we remember that the purpose of our protocols is to preserve life, not to delay saving it. The chamber erupted. Some species cheered. Others protested. But everyone was talking. For the first time in centuries, the Federation Council was truly debating change. Velraxis then revealed something shocking. In the 400 years since this council formed, we have lost 47 ships to emergencies. Each time we followed protocol. Each time we waited for approval. Each time people died while we filled out paperwork. The ambassador let that sink in. How many would be alive today if someone had simply said, "We have got this"? The question hung in the air. No one had an answer, but everyone understood the point. On the Resilience, Daewon received word that Earth was sending an official ambassador to the Federation. A woman named Yoon Seo-ha. She was a former crisis negotiator, someone who specialized in solving impossible problems. Sounds perfect, Daewon said. The crew continued repairs. The ship slowly came back to life. Power was restored, life support stabilized. The quantum drive hummed with its new, evolved capabilities. Pilot Ji-woo sat at her station and looked at the stars ahead. "Captain," she said, "do you think they will let us stay in the Federation?" Daewon smiled. "I do not know. But either way, we showed them what humans can do. We showed them that impossible is just another word for not yet." The vote was coming. The galaxy held its breath, and somewhere on Earth, Ambassador Ha prepared to speak for all of humanity before the greatest powers in the known universe. The future was uncertain, but that had never stopped humans before. 3 months after the rescue, the Galactic Federation Council chamber was full. Every species had sent representatives. The humans, the newest members of galactic society, sat in a special section reserved for them. Ambassador Yoon Seo-ha stood at the center of the chamber. She was a small woman by human standards, but she carried herself with quiet confidence. Behind her, Captain Daewon Kim stood in his dress uniform. The rest of the Resilience crew sat nearby, still wearing their medals from Earth. The vote would happen today. 3 things were being decided: full Federation membership for humanity, restructuring of emergency response protocols, and creation of a new rapid response division. The galaxy waited. A representative from the Vexlar species stood up. The Vexlar were one of the oldest members of the Federation, known for strict adherence to rules. The humans have shown courage, the representative admitted, but they have also shown recklessness. They break protocols. They take unnecessary risks. They endanger not just themselves but others around them. The chamber murmured in agreement. Many species felt the same way. Humans were too unpredictable, too willing to gamble with lives, but then a Chromath elder stood. This was unusual. Chromath rarely spoke in council meetings, preferring to observe and vote quietly. The entire chamber fell silent. The elder spoke in a voice that carried the weight of millions of years. "I am 300,000 years old. I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched civilizations burn and rebuild. And in all that time I have never seen what these humans did." The elder looked directly at the Vexlar representative. "You say they take unnecessary risks. I say they took the only risk that mattered. 3,000 of my people are alive because humans did not wait for permission, because they did not hide behind safety protocols, because when faced with certain death they said, 'We have got this,' and proved it." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species agreed with the elder. Others still had doubts. The debate raged for an hour. Finally, Ambassador Ha was given permission to speak. She walked to the center platform and looked around at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. She took a deep breath. "My species is not special," Ha began. "We are not smarter than you. We are not stronger. Our technology is primitive compared to most species here. We have made countless mistakes in our history. We have fought wars, destroyed our environment, and nearly killed ourselves multiple times." She paused, letting that sink in. "But we have learned one thing very well. We have learned that trying and failing is better than never trying at all. We have learned that impossible is just another word for difficult. We have learned that when someone needs help, you help them. You do not wait. You do not calculate odds. You just act." Ha looked at the Vexlar representative. "You say we are reckless. Maybe you are right. But your caution has cost lives. Your protocols have turned the Federation into something that survives but does not thrive. You have built a galaxy of rules, but you have forgotten why those rules exist." She turned to face the entire council. "The Federation has survived for 400 years by being careful. That is an achievement. But how much have you grown? How much have you changed? How many opportunities have you missed because the risks seemed too high? We are not asking you to become reckless," Ha continued. "We are asking you to remember that rules serve life, not the other way around. We are asking you to allow immediate action when lives are at stake. We are asking you to trust that sometimes courage is the most logical choice." The chamber went silent. Ha finished her speech simply. "Humanity wants to join the Federation, not to change you, but to remind you of something you seem to have forgotten. That being alive means taking risks. That protecting life sometimes requires risking your own. That impossible is just another challenge to overcome." She sat down. The council deliberated for 3 hours. Species argued. Factions formed and reformed. Finally, the vote was called. Measure 1. Full Federation membership for humanity. The votes were counted. The chamber held its breath. By a margin of 52%, the measure passed. Measure 2. Restructuring of emergency protocols to allow immediate action. Another close vote. 51%. It passed. Measure 3. Creation of a rapid response fleet, staffed by volunteers from all species, trained in immediate crisis intervention. The vote was surprisingly unanimous. Every species agreed that such a force was needed. The galaxy had changed. Not by force, but by example. Humans had shown what was possible, and the Federation had decided to be brave. 6 months later, the UNS Resilience floated in space, fully repaired and upgraded. The ship gleamed with new hull plating. The quantum drive hummed with its evolved capabilities. Human and alien engineers had worked together to make it better than ever. Fleet Admiral Daewon Kim walked through his ship. He had been promoted but refused to leave the Resilience. This was his home. His crew was his family. No amount of rank would change that. Dr. Hana Shin worked in her laboratory, teaching young engineers from a dozen different species how quantum drives worked. She complained constantly about having to explain things, but secretly loved it. Engineer Taeyang Park opened a consulting business. His first class was titled Understanding Creative Improvisation. The second class was Why Duct Tape Works on Everything. Alien engineers signed up in droves. Commander Bora Lee trained the security teams for the new rapid response fleet. She taught them how to fight, but more importantly, she taught them when not to fight. Sometimes courage meant protecting others. Sometimes it meant protecting yourself. Knowing the difference was key. Ambassador Velraxis had taken an unprecedented step. The ancient Chromath had accepted humanity's invitation to serve as cultural liaison aboard the Resilience. At 8,000 years old, Velraxis was learning something new every day. The ambassador particularly enjoyed coffee, which Velraxis described as liquid recklessness. The caffeine did strange things to Chromath metabolism, making them slightly euphoric. Velraxis claimed it helped with understanding human thinking. The first emergency call came on a quiet Tuesday. A Xylothian mining station was collapsing into a quantum singularity. Automated systems calculated 0% survival probability. The old Federation protocols would have taken 2 weeks to organize a response. The rapid response fleet arrived in 3 hours. The Resilience led the way, followed by a dozen ships crewed by humans, Chromath, Vexlar, and half a dozen other species. They had trained together. They trusted each other, and they had learned from the best. On the bridge, Daewon looked at his mixed crew. A human pilot, a Chromath navigator, a Vexlar weapons officer, a dozen other species working together. This was what the Federation could be. This was the future. The Chromath navigator, a young one only 200 years old, looked nervous. Captain, the situation is impossible. The quantum singularity is expanding. We cannot save the station. Daewon smiled. The navigator had learned the word impossible from the other species. Time to unlearn it. He looked at the young Chromath. Impossible just means nobody has done it yet. Now let me tell you about the time we rescued a colony ship from a neutron star. The navigator listened, eyes wide. As Daewon finished the story, the young Chromath sat up straighter. So what do we do, Captain? Daewon turned to his crew. The same crew that had flown through hell and back. The same crew that had taught the galaxy what humans meant when they said those 3 simple words. What we always do, Daewon said. We have got this. But this time it was not just humans saying it. The Chromath navigator repeated the words. We have got this. The Vexlar weapons officer nodded and said it too. One by one, every crew member from every species spoke those words. Because they had learned. They had watched humans charge into the impossible and come out the other side. They had seen what courage looked like. And now they carried it themselves. The resilience accelerated toward the quantum singularity. Behind it, the rapid response fleet followed. On 1,000 worlds, species watched their sensors and held their breath. The rescue would be difficult. Maybe impossible. But that did not matter anymore. Because the galaxy had learned what humanity had always known. Impossible was just another word for not yet. And when someone said, we have got this, they meant it. No matter what species they were, no matter how long the odds, no matter how dark the space ahead, the Federation had survived for 400 years by being careful. Now it would thrive by being brave. And it was all because one species, barely out of its own solar system, had shown them how. Admiral Daewon Kim sat in his captain's chair and smiled. The resilience flew toward danger like it always had, with courage, with determination, and with a crew that believed impossible was just a challenge waiting to be overcome. Behind them, Velraxis sipped coffee and watched the humans work. The ancient Chromath had lived for 8,000 years. But these past few months had been the most alive Velraxis had ever felt, because humans had taught the galaxy something precious. That being alive meant more than just surviving. It meant taking risks. It meant helping others. It meant saying we have got this and proving it again and again no matter what stood in the way. The stars stretched ahead. The quantum singularity waited, and the crew of the Resilience went to work doing what they always did, saving lives, breaking rules, making impossible look easy being human.